What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the BA Sports Podcast. We have the start of the 2026-2027 NFL season underway with none other than the NFL Draft coming at you today when this episode will release on Thursday, April 23rd. Ladies and gentlemen, the Las Vegas Raiders are already on the clock.
We about to take a trip. Just sit back and relax. We about to take a trip. Busting out the lit. Just sit back and relax. We about to take a trip. Yeah. Just sit back and relax. We about to take a trip. Yeah.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, the Raiders pick is in. Certainly seems like a no-brainer this year, you have to imagine. Brady, where do you think the Raiders are going to go this year? Do you think they'll do anything different than the norm?
I think this one is just as straightforward as last year when I predicted Ashton Genty to go to them. Raiders need a quarterback, and there is one quarterback in this draft that is worthy of a number one overall selection, and that is Fernando Mendoza, quarterback of Indiana. This one has been known pretty much most of the offseason. This gives them their quarterback of the future. Tom Brady wants this guy in the building, and I think Fernando Mendoza has a great mentor in Tom Brady in that building. It's going to help him grow, help this offense grow behind the new Kubiak coaching regime. I think this one is the easiest pick of the first round to predict. So next up, the New York Jets. This one is going to be a lot more difficult to project. The New York Jets are on the clock.
Alrighty, the New York Jets pick is in. Certainly could see them looking for an edge rusher here. Really huge question marks over the Jets offense last season. Defensively, they did not force a single interception at all last year. Could they possibly be looking to go in the secondary this early? Quarterback, they have question marks at. We know they traded away Sauce Gardner last year. Certainly could be looking for a DB as well. A lot of different options here, Brady. Who do you think the New York Jets are going to select at number 2?
Yeah, I think this one is edge rusher, as you mentioned. It's going to be between Arvell Reese and David Bailey, and I've been back and forth between the two. I actually have David Bailey over Arvell Reese on my big board, but this one, I think they're going to go with the more versatile, younger edge rusher. He's not the pure edge rusher, pass rusher that David Bailey is, but he has that capability to rush the passer and also be a linebacker in the middle. It's going to be Arvell Reese, edge out of Ohio State. He definitely needs more development than David Bailey. David Bailey is your more polished pass rusher, one of the best edge rushers in last year's NCAA. He led Texas Tech to the college football playoff. He was absolutely dominant against Oregon in that game. Even though Texas Tech did not perform well, David Bailey was the star on the field on the defensive side of the ball. So I think it's going to be a tough choice between the two, but Arvell Reese definitely has more upside because he gives you that Micah Parsons-esque where he can play inside linebacker and he can rush on the outside. He just needs a little more development as a pass rusher. So that's what I think the Jets are going to do. Go Arvell Reese, even though they could go David Bailey, and I know there's a lot of chatter around it, but I think I'm sticking with it. They're going to go Arvell Reese, who's a more versatile defensive player. And the Jets also have a lot of picks inside the top 40 picks. So be aware they can fill a lot of needs here in these first two rounds. Next up, it's the Arizona Cardinals on the clock.
And the Arizona Cardinals pick is in. A lot of needs for the Arizona Cardinals coming into this draft. We know Kyler Murray is no longer with them. He signed with the Minnesota Vikings. They might be looking at another bridge year with Jacoby Brissett at the helm there for the Cardinals. Or could they maybe be looking to go quarterback in the draft right here? Questions across the offensive line as well. And of course, on the defensive side of the ball, we know they need some help getting to the quarterback over there. Brady, who do you have the Cardinals selecting at number 3 in the draft this year?
Yeah, this one is a big question mark because now they're getting chatter that Jeremiah Love is the favorite at 3. I think it's a little bit of a fake out by the Cardinals. I think they truly, if they have to stick and pick, they go edge David Bailey here, which is what I have them doing. If they have the option to trade out, I just think it may be too steep for teams to come up. We can look at the Kansas City Chiefs possibly coming up for David Bailey. I don't think the Dallas Cowboys want to come that far up. They're going to have to give up way too much. But you could see Kansas City. You could see New Orleans. New Orleans just doesn't have a lot of draft capital to do this, but New Orleans and Kansas City are two that I would look to come up for an edge. Maybe even Tennessee swapping 4 and 3 with Arizona, because I know Tennessee loves David Bailey and Arvell Reese and would love to have an edge rusher in that new defense of theirs with Robert Saleh and company. So I think Arizona goes David Bailey here. They have a lot of needs to fill. If it's not David Bailey, it's Arvell Reese, Jeremiah Love, maybe Francis Maui Noah, but I think it's too early for an offensive tackle, even though they need a right tackle, and way too early for a quarterback in Ty Simpson, but we'll get to that later in the back end of this draft when we get to a potential trade into round 1 for Arizona. But I'm going to go with David Bailey, edge rusher out of Texas Tech. This kid is a stud, and the Cardinals ranked 3rd to last in the NFL with only 30 sacks last year, so they would love to get him on the squad to get a pass rush developed, and they need it. They need edge. And the Tennessee Titans are next up on the clock in the NFL draft at pick number 4.
And the pick for the Tennessee Titans is in. A lot of different options here for the Tennessee Titans. Could they trade back? Certainly could be a little bit difficult to do that with the top 2 edge rushers already off the board. Or could second-year GM Mike Borgonzi look to start off his draft with Jeremiah Love to pair with second-year quarterback Cam Ward? Certainly could be of consideration. Also important to note here, the Titans have considered linebacker out of Ohio State, Sonny Styles, and also do not be sleeping on offensive tackles such as Spencer Fano out of Utah. Certainly Titans could look to go any direction here. Brady, who do you have the Titans selecting, or do you have them trading back?
Yeah, I have them sticking and picking. There's been chatter that they really love Sonny Styles all of a sudden. I don't think it's real. I think Arizona's faking out that they like Jeremiah Love to get Tennessee to move up. I think Tennessee's faking out they like Sonny Styles to get the Giants to move up. I think they're sticking and picking, and I think they're going my best player, my top player in this draft, Jeremiah Love, running back out of Notre Dame. Him and Caleb Downs are easily the top 2 players in this draft. And I think the Titans don't really care about positional value. They need a running back alongside Cam Ward, and Jeremiah Love can provide that, can provide a big-time pass-catching ability out of the backfield. He'll be able to split time with Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard will be able to take the load off. Tony Pollard's getting a little older, so bringing in a guy like Love, I think this would help this offense propel to the next dimension. And I like Tennessee grabbing a wide receiver at the top end of round 2 with their pick in round 2. I know they need a wide receiver. There's been chatter. They also could go Carnell Tate here. They could go Jordan Tyson maybe. I think they stick with Jeremiah Love, running back out of Notre Dame, the best player in this draft. He's got too much potential to pass up, and put him alongside Cam Ward. I think this offense propels to the next level. And, the Giants under Brian Dable didn't have enough offense. He tried to develop Jackson Dart. Robert Saleh didn't have enough offense. And the Jets, I think Tennessee needs offense here. They're going to go Jeremiah Love and stick and pick here with the Giants coming up next. They've got 2 picks in the first round, actually, and the top 10, to say the least. And they're on the clock at number 5.
And the New York Football Giants, if you will, pick is in at number 5. A lot of good options here for the Giants, and certainly a lot of needs for the Giants as well. Offensive line could be worth a look. Got to protect young quarterback Jackson Dart. We know how much he was getting banged up last year and concussed. You could argue that, cost Brian Dable his job, couldn't protect the guy. Could look to go running back early, especially if maybe Jeremiah Love were to magically make it this far. Defensive tackle, also a question mark. We know they just gave away Dexter Lawrence to the Bengals, and also linebacker, a position of need for the New York Football Giants. Brady, who do you have them selecting at number 5?
Yeah, I think I mocked Sonny Styles in mock 1.0, but I changed my 2.0 mock. They also need safety. Now, it's not as big of a need, but Harbaugh has had his safeties, fair share of safeties in Baltimore. He had Ed Reed early on, and he drafted Kyle Hamilton later on a couple years ago, and I think he goes safety here out of Ohio State. My number 2 player on my big board, Caleb Downs. And like I said, it's not really you're kind of devaluing positional value. You take a running back in the top 4, you take a safety in the top 5. But hey, the last 2 safeties to be taken in the top 5, Eric Berry and Sean Taylor, I'd say those 2 turned out pretty good. Both were selected at exactly number 5 overall. And Caleb Downs, highly regarded as one of the smartest safeties, one of the smartest defensive players. Even Nick Saban said so himself. So I think they go Caleb Downs out of Ohio State here. Other options, they could go Sonny Styles out of Ohio State. Linebacker, they need to fill that need. He'd be great at stopping the run. There's no true defensive tackle here to fill the Dexter Lawrence need. Maybe they can fill that in round 2. There's a couple tackles, defensive tackles at the top of round 2. They also have a number 10 overall pick, and I expect them to fill that with O-line or a wide receiver possibly. And I think they stick and pick, go defense here. Caleb Downs is my pick. They could go Sonny. They could go Jeremiah Love if he drops. I wouldn't doubt that one bit. I think Jeremiah Love would easily be the pick here if he fell to 5. And they could go Francis Mauigoa. Jordan Tyson's been some chatter. I think it's too high for Jordan Tyson. Having an injured player like Jordan Tyson on that MetLife turf just doesn't add up. But, I mean, they could get him at 10, but it's going to be tough to get him at 10 because Washington, New Orleans, Kansas City, and Cleveland, the 4 teams the 4 teams picking after the Giants right here in between 5 and 10, they all could use a wide receiver. So I think the Giants go Caleb Downs, get a proven guy, a smart guy to run your defense, the back end of your defense that needs a lot of help. And I think it would help this defense as a whole with him at the helm and the safety position. Next up, we have the Cleveland Browns at 6, and there's been chatter that they would love to move back if possible, but will that even be possible? Who knows? They're on the clock at pick 6 overall.
And ladies and gentlemen, the pick is in at number 6 for the Cleveland Browns. Shador Sanders, fresh off of a Pro Bowl appearance. Could they be looking to boost the offensive line? Certainly could also get him some pass catchers as well. Or is Shador not the answer? Are they going to go quarterback this year? Brady, who do you have the Cleveland Browns selecting?
Yeah, this one, they could go multiple directions. There's been chatter that they need O-line and wide receiver easily in the first round. They do. They need offensive tackle, offensive guard possibly, wide receiver, and a quarterback. Carnell Tate, the wide receiver out of Ohio State. This makes 2 Ohio State players in a row. I think with the offensive tackle class a little deeper at this point, they're just going to go wide receiver because there's 3 wide receivers, Carnell Tate, Jordan Tyson, and then Mekhi Lemon. Those are the top 3 wide receivers. Sure, they could grab a wide receiver later like KC Concepcion. They could grab an Omar Cooper Jr., a Denzel Boston at the back end of round 1. They pick 24th overall, but I think that they can use that 24th overall pick to propel themselves up to trade ahead of the Steelers, the Eagles, maybe even the Lions, and get an offensive tackle later in this draft. So I think they're going to go Carnell Tate, wide receiver, Ohio State. I think these picks for Cleveland, like I said, they had 2 in the first round. It's going to be wide receiver, offensive tackle. I don't know which order. I'm guessing wide receiver first, offensive tackle second. We will see how they go. But like I said, they could trade back here. The Cowboys have been rumored to wanting to trade up. I don't think they go this high. They'd have to sacrifice 20th overall, and Dallas doesn't want to do that. I could see New Orleans jumping Washington if they really like one of these wide receivers. Kansas City jumping Washington and New Orleans if they really want one of these wide receivers as well. But those are a couple teams. I don't. Maybe even the Giants. I mean, they could jump to pick back to back, but I think that Cleveland doesn't find a trade partner unless one of the edge rushers falls, Jeremiah Love falls, or Caleb Downs starts falling. Then maybe they might be able to find a trade partner. But they stick and pick Carnell Tate here. Washington is up at number 7 overall. They are on the clock.
Pick number 7 for the Washington Redskins is in. Man, scary pick for the Dallas Cowboys. Don't you think so? I mean, you got the Giants and the Commanders picking inside the top 7.
Yep.
Could be looking to get some foundation pieces here that may sign a couple contracts and stick around in the division for a while. I do not know if the Commanders are going to probably just go best available defensive player. They have needs at linebacker. They have needs on the edge. They tried to sign a bunch of veterans with Dan Quinn and, sort of get them over the edge of the NFC Championship game they made a couple seasons ago. That did not work out for them. Could be looking at wide receiver. Scary Terry was banged up last year. Deebo Samuel, spitting image of himself these days, unfortunately. And also safety. I think the Commanders really need to boost that back into their defense. Brady, who do you have them selecting?
Dream scenario here would be Jeremiah Love or Caleb Downs falls right into the Commanders' lap at 7, but both of them I have going 4 and 5. So they're left with another Ohio State product. This would be the third Ohio State product in a row in Sonny Styles. It's really hard to project for the Commanders because they need a lot. They could go wide receiver here in Jordan Tyson. If Carnell Tate falls, they could go Carnell Tate to put alongside the other Ohio State product, Terry McLaurin. But I think they go Sonny Styles here, linebacker, because they need to anchor the middle of this defense. Dan Quinn wants a guy to man the middle of his defense, and I think they go Sonny Styles here. I think they truly go on the defensive side of the ball here. So look for Sonny Styles, look for Caleb Downs, maybe even Mansour Delane if Sonny Styles and Caleb Downs are both gone by then. But I think they go Sonny Styles out of Ohio State. He's just so versatile, and he would add a lot to this defense. And it's hard for the Cowboys, like you're mentioning. They can't trade to 5, can't trade to 7, and doubtful to trade to 10. So their only trade partners are probably going to be Kansas City or New Orleans. I think Cleveland's too steep, and the Titans, Cardinals are going to be way too steep for Dallas as well. So I think really only New Orleans and Kansas City to get ahead of that New York Giants 10 spot is on the table for the Cowboys. So look out for that. But the Commanders don't end up trading back here. Go Sonny Styles, linebacker of Ohio State. And then the New Orleans Saints are up next. 8th overall pick for the New Orleans Saints, and they're on the clock.
And the pick is in for the New Orleans Saints. Have to imagine they want to add a weapon for young quarterback Tyler Shuck in this offense. Certainly could also use help on the secondary. Cornerback's been a question mark there. We know they lost. Can't believe I'm
Lattimore
to Washington recently. Wide receiver. A big need here, I believe. Defensive line, you never know with that coaching staff who they might decide to go with there. Brady, who do you think the New Orleans Saints are going to select in the draft?
Yeah, this one's tough. It could be Jordan Tyson, wide receiver out of Arizona State. That's who I have going. The Saints need to add a weapon for Tyler Shuck, like you're mentioning. It could also be Carnell Tate if he falls this far. I think one of the two wide receivers will go within this 6 through 8 range, if not both of the wide receivers, which I have projected. New Orleans, if somehow Tyson goes 7 to the Commanders or 5 to the Giants and there's no wide receiver but Mekhi Lemon would be the next best wide receiver, I think then New Orleans goes either Mansour Delane, local LSU product, or Ruben Bain Jr., Miami edge rusher, to add to that D-line, who may not have Cam Jordan back. I know Cam Jordan's getting older, and he may not be back, so they may need to add Ruben Bain Jr. right here, but I have them getting Tyler Shuck a weapon. They lost Rashid Shaheed, Super Bowl champion Rashid Shaheed, to the Seattle Seahawks, and I think they need to replace a wide receiver alongside Chris Olave here. The Kansas City Chiefs are on the clock at 9th overall, and they've got a couple of big needs that they need to fill to get back into contention in the AFC. So they are on the clock at number 9.
All right, Kansas City Chiefs pick is in. Man, Chiefs got to protect Patrick Mahomes. You have to imagine, especially after that 10-year contract they gave him. It's got to be priority number one for this football team. Also, really needed some help getting after the quarterback last year. Amongst that, their defensive secondary was, I mean, they're picking inside the top 10 for a reason. Injuries aside, though, the Chiefs could really look to go a couple of different directions here. I don't think that the Chiefs are expecting to be drafting this high again for a long time. So, I wouldn't completely rule out the opportunity of them, inquiring about a trade, whether that be to move up, actually.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, they're probably likely to stick it out and pick at 9 unless, like, David Bailey slips a little bit. I think they definitely would maybe move up to go get him. But, yeah, Brady, who do you have the Kansas City Chiefs picking here at 9?
Yeah, if David Bailey starts to slip, I'm sure Kansas City would be calling. They've had great success with Texas Tech products in that offense, and hopefully the defense if David Bailey starts to fall, but they need to protect that quarterback out of Texas Tech and Patrick Mahomes, as you were saying. So I have them going Francis Mauigoa out of Miami, Florida. The Chiefs need to address offensive line. Now they have picked 9 and 29. They could package those two to move up ahead of 29 if needed. But the run on offensive linemen starts around this area. Definitely could start a little earlier with Cleveland or New York at 5 and 6. But the Kansas City Chiefs need a right tackle. And Francis Mauigoa can play that right tackle spot. Spencer Fano also can play that right tackle spot. Another guy in consideration here would be Mansour Delane, cornerback out of LSU. They lost their 2 top corners this offseason. The Rams went and acquired one of them in a trade, which is why the Chiefs are picking 29th overall. Ruben Bain Jr. can be in consideration for an edge rusher here. I just think they need to protect Mahomes, first and foremost. Andy Reid said it. They're not going to be able to get a tackle at the end of round 1. I think they'd have more success at getting a corner at the end of round 1. Maybe Jermod McCoy slips all the way down due to his injury, and they're able to snag him, and he does well. But that is what I would do, because the run on offensive tackle starts now, and it's not going to stop until about pick 23, and then it'll taper off towards the end of the first round, where you'll see a couple go, but they're more developmental tackles. So Francis Mauigoa, offensive lineman, here for the Chiefs to protect Mahomes. And next up, the Giants are back on the clock because they traded Dexter Lawrence to Cincinnati for this 10th overall pick. And here we go. The pick is in at number 10.
Pick is in at number 10. Oh, man, could you imagine if Caleb Downs were to fall this late to the Giants? But no, they already selected him at number 5 overall. So you have to imagine that what is the next most important thing to the New York Giants? And with that, Brady, who do you have them selecting at number 10?
Yeah, I got them going offensive tackle, offensive guard, Spencer Fano. He can play either position. They got Illuminor this offseason, and he can play inside a guard. He can play right tackle. Fano can do the same, guard or tackle. They got a little versatility with Fano. He even worked out as a center I believe his pro day or the combine to showcase that. Now, I don't think he's going to be a center for them, but they need to protect Jackson Dart. He's one of the most sacked quarterbacks last year, and they get a top offensive lineman in the class. This is so difficult for them at 10 because when they're sitting here at 5, they got to take a guy that they want. They got to take Caleb Downs, a Sonny Styles, maybe even Jordan Tyson. I think it's too rich to go that early for a wide receiver, but they're going to have to take him here because I don't think either of those three are making it back to 10. I think they're going to have to go offensive line here, but that is fine by me. And I think if they need to add a wide receiver, they can do so in round 2. And the linebacker class is pretty deep, so I think they could even add that later on past round 2. So I like this draft start for the New York Giants, an offensive lineman and a stud safety, my number 2 player in the draft. Great picks by the New York Giants to round out the top 10. Let's move on to number 11, the Miami Dolphins, who need pretty much everything known to man at pick number 11. They're on the clock.
The Miami Dolphins really do need everything known to man down there in Miami. Wide receiver seems to be the consensus choice amongst the experts here for the Dolphins. We know they need to fill some targets out there. Offensive line also a very big concern here for the Dolphins. As you know, Tua left and went to Atlanta. They're going to need an offensive line to establish a run game and protect whoever's going to, be their next franchise quarterback. Of course, we haven't seen that in 2 decades in Miami, but however, they could look to go in the defensive secondary. Brady, who do you have the Miami Dolphins selecting at number 11?
Yeah, at this point, like I said, you need absolutely everything. Might as well go best player available. They have 7 picks inside the top 100 for a reason. They get cornerback Mansour Delane out of LSU. Your number 1 cornerback in the class, clear lockdown potential. I like Mansour Delane here. They could go Mekhi Lemon. If Jordan Tyson or Carnell Tate were to fall, they definitely would go him. Can anyone name 3 wide receivers on the Dolphins? Because it's really short-sighted. You got Tutu Atwell and Jalen Tolbert, I believe, former Cowboy. Those 2 I know are on the depth chart, but you lose Jalen Waddle, you lose Tyreek Hill. Now they did get pick 30 from Denver for that Jalen Waddle trade, so they do have another pick inside the top 30 inside round 1 that they can add later on, and I think that pick they're actually going to be able to add to the offense, which is where they need help as well. And my Dallas Cowboys are next up at pick number 12 on the clock.
Yeah, just going back to the Miami pick, if you don't mind. Important, like the new Dolphins regime is sort of like the old Packers regime, if you really think about it. So, like, people don't know if they're gonna go like receiver or cornerback, but I mean, if it's the Green Bay philosophy, then they're probably gonna go offensive line or cornerback. To your point, so just something I failed to mention, but I mean. Yeah, it's going to be interesting, and then everyone thinks they're going to go Mekhi Lemon, which for fantasy purposes that is what we would want. But
that'd be awesome, yeah.
I like what you picked for them. Anyways, though, back to the Cowboys. The Cowboys are submitting their pick. Man, what are the Cowboys? What does Jerry Jones have up his sleeve at pick 12, round 1? So many question marks on the defensive side of the ball. One of the worst defenses we've seen in NFL history.
Yeah.
The Cowboys' worst defense ever, giving up just over 30 points a game last year. Could they go linebacker? Could they go edge? Could they go defensive back? Yeah, Brady, the Cowboys pick is in. Who do you have? Jerry Jones selecting.
As hard as it is, Jerry Jones is probably going to stick and pick here. They haven't really traded up recently. So I imagine they're going to stick and pick unless you see Caleb Downs start to fall, Sonny Styles start to fall. I would imagine in the 8-9 range, if you see either of those two, the Cowboys might trade up from 12. But I have them sticking and picking here. They go edge rusher, a much needed position for their defense. They really need everything defense. They go Ruben Bain Jr., edge out of Miami. Pays off in a big way for him. He is one of the top edge rushers in this class. I think that with Quinnen Williams inside, it's going to help him a lot. And it just gets him younger on the edge. Now, they definitely could go corner if Mansour Delane falls here. If Caleb Downs were to fall here, that would be best case scenario. That's who I want, but I just don't see him falling outside the top 10. Mansour Delane, I don't think they go Jermod McCoy here. I think you could see them go safety out of Oregon right here. If Ruben Bain is already off the board, they could go Dylan Thieneman, a safety, which could definitely help that secondary. And then they go edge later on with their second pick in the first round. But they need linebacker, they need edge, and they need DB. And with this linebacker class so deep, I think they go edge and DB first round with their first 2 overall picks. And I know people are wanting them to trade up to 6 or 3, but they're going to have to give up pick 20 in order to do that. And I just don't see them doing that. So they stick and pick here, go Ruben Bain Jr. And then we get the interesting team who loves to throw in some trades every now and then. The Los Angeles Rams are on the clock at 13th overall.
Brady, do you mind if we go back to the Cowboys pick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Alrighty. So they're moving to a 3-4 this year.
Yep.
And then Mansour Delane, he could go anywhere from like 7 to like where they're picking at 12.
Mm-hmm.
So how well does Bain fit the new 3-4 scheme, and could you see a world where they trade up inside to get Mansour?
I could see a world where they do that, but I just don't think they do. Ruben Bain definitely fits that scheme pretty well. He can play inside, he can play outside. He's a big-bodied edge rusher. He can play into. He has a more versatility than David Bailey. If they were to trade up and take David Bailey is a pure edge rusher, whereas I think Ruben Bain can kind of play inside in that 3-4 defense if needed, and he can also play on the edge. So he's got a little flexibility, which is why I like him. And I think that's why Jerry and company likes him, because they've been talking about him, Caleb Downs, and Sonny Styles the most. But I don't think the other two are falling this far. I think Ruben Bain definitely has potential to fall right into the Cowboys' lap here at 12. So I think he fits Christian Parker's new defense fantastic, and I would be super happy with this pick. If they weren't to go edge here and were to trade up, get Mansour Delane, go edge later in the first round, look at Keldrick Folk, Auburn, young edge rusher. He has a little more flexibility as well, just like Ruben Bain, to play inside, play on the edge, kind of mix around and just get those different looks for these defenses, which is what Christian Parker likes to do. He likes to mix it up. Like he was saying when he came in, he loves to mix it up, and I think that would be great. But, if they don't go edge rusher here, they go either Mansour Delane, Dylan Thieneman, or if he falls, Caleb Downs. I think they're going DB and edge rusher, I think, in round 1. They have to.
Could they trade up for Styles?
They could.
Okay.
I just think it may be too steep.
And have you seen the reports that they have a really high grade on Tyson?
I
receiver?
have. I did not even mention that.
Yeah.
Yes. They definitely could draft Tyson. If they do that, I imagine they're trading George Pickens.
I told you there'd be drama around that franchise tag. You said there wouldn't be, and here we are.
I mean,
you won't sign it.
They're definitely going to trade George Pickens if that is how it's going to pan out. And
fair enough.
I don't think Jordan Tyson falls as far. Frankly, he's going inside the top 10 in my opinion. The Giants like him too much. The Saints like him. Washington could draft him. Cleveland could draft him. I think there's the key for one of these players falling, whether it's Ruben Bain, Caleb Downs, Mansour Delane, Sonny Styles. The key is 2 offensive linemen and 2 wide receivers need to go within the top 11 picks for them to get this fall of one of those players. In this case, it's Ruben Bain.
Okay. Alrighty. Well, appreciate us going back there to discuss the Cowboys. Certainly something the viewers wanted to hear discuss. We want to hear y'all's thoughts as well. So please do let us know what you think, what you want the Cowboys to do at number 12. But moving on to number 13, the Rams have submitted their pick. Picking at 13 this year. They got that pick from Atlanta. I mean, the positions that they put themselves in, right? Known for giving away their first round picks for players, NFL proven players, the success they found doing that. Now they're doing the opposite. They're taking first round picks from other teams. They've got Atlanta's this year. Could we see the Rams strike on Mekhi Lemon here? I can see him feasting in Sean McVay's offense.
Cooper
Certainly
Cup Jr.
something that would be enticing for fantasy fans all around the globe. Brady, the pick is in. Who do you have the Rams selecting?
Now that is what everyone wants. Mekhi Lemon to the Los Angeles Rams, probably one of the most mocked players to the Rams. I have them going Mekhi Lemon here. They could also trade out of this pick. I mean, like we've said, they love giving up their first round picks. If they get an offer on the table, they'll trade back. This is where I think teams are going to start trading up for offensive tackle. Now, I might change this by tomorrow, but as of right now, I don't have it. But a team very well could trade up to get ahead of the Ravens, who need O-line, to get ahead of the Lions, who need O-line at 17. And the real run starts at 19 with the Panthers need O-line. I mean, literally everyone probably needs O-line from here on out besides like the Bucks and maybe the Jets. But I think that, if they're to stick and pick, they go Mekhi Lemon to pair alongside Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams. He'll be in the slot. Definitely can rotate with Puka Nacua. Puka Nacua will now have a number 2 alongside him if Devontae Adams ever parts ways. But this is the best situation for them to win now. They could go offensive line. I just don't think that Sean McVay picks offensive line here. They could go quarterback, Ty Simpson. Way too early for him. But if they trade back, maybe at the end of round 1, they get their guy in Ty Simpson to develop under Matthew Stafford for who knows how long. But if they're trying to win a Super Bowl, maybe they trade up, Tanner. What if they do that? What if they say, F these picks this year? We're trading all of our picks to 4th overall, swap with the Titans, go get Jeremiah Love.
Well, I mean that, or what if they went, pass rusher, right? Byron Young's a free agent next year. Jared Verse is going into his 3rd season.
They could go get one of those edge rushers in the top 3.
Yeah, and they
it's
could trade up for one of those guys. Yep.
I think this is where it gets super interesting because I think this draft is going to be throwing people for a whirlwind with some of these trades that are happening. It's going to be a fun one. I encourage people, please stay off your phones and just watch the picks happen in real life, and don't Twitter watch it, because we know people we know people will tweet those out before they're actually announced on the TV. And this round 1 is going to be primetime television tomorrow night. Tonight, I guess, if you're listening to this on Thursday. But yeah, so at 14, the Baltimore Ravens kind of have their guy falling right into their lap, as they seemingly always do. They're on the clock at 14th overall.
And the pick is in for the Baltimore Ravens at 14. Does anybody know what to expect from the Ravens at this spot? Right? I mean,
Yes.
Unless besides Brady Hour, does anybody know? I mean, could they go Sadiq from Oregon?
Ooh, I like it.
Could they go the guard from Penn State, who is known to be really good in the run game? Could they look to get a center, because we know that they lost Tyler Linderbaum? Baltimore, they have a lot of work to do at the safety position as well. So a lot of options here for Baltimore. What do you have the Baltimore Ravens selecting, Brady?
Yeah. As you mentioned, Tyler Linderbaum earning massive contract in Las Vegas, highest paid center in the league. they need to add alongside this interior O-line, and I think they select Vanga Owane, Penn State offensive guard. Like I mentioned in the article, if you read it tomorrow, Tyler Booker was selected around this range for the Dallas Cowboys last year, and he panned out really well. Most people didn't expect him to go this high. I think Vanga Owane is definitely one of, if not the best safest offensive lineman in this draft. Boost that interior protection for Lamar Jackson. They could go weapon here. Like you mentioned, Tanner, Kenyon Sadiq is available. Maybe one of these wide receivers, Jordan Tyson, Mekhi Lemon, Carnell Tate, falls a little too far. They get Lamar another weapon. But I think you need to protect Lamar first and foremost. Get a guy to help Derrick Henry in the run game. I like Vanga Owane here at 14 to the Baltimore Ravens. And I think this one is a fantastic fit and the board just kind of falling right into their lap in Baltimore. The Tampa Bay Bucks are now on the clock at pick 15.
Pick 15 is in for Baker the touchdown maker in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Oh man, this team lost a couple of key guys, right? Mike Evans leaving. Who retired? I forgot his name. The linebacker. Long time. Come on.
Is it Levante David?
Yeah, retired. Needs for this team at edge, at linebacker, tight end, I would argue.
Mm-hmm.
When you're Tampa, they started off really good last year. They are in the mindset of, win now with Baker. I feel like, they keep winning their division. It might be too early in the draft to take any of the defensive tackles, I think, at 15. Could they be open to a trade? I don't know. They do have a good offensive line, probably not taking a tackle at least. So I mean, in that regards, if another team wants to take one, then Tampa Bay could be listening. We know last year they took a Mika Egbuka, and he boomed last year.
Fantastic pick.
So I think in those regards, they'll probably look to add, defensive talent. I think, I don't know, Brady, the pick is in. Who do you have the Buccaneers selecting at 15?
Yeah, I think they go defense here, even though they could go Kenyon Sadiq, tight end out of Oregon, but I have them going an older prospect, Akeem Messidor, defensive end, edge rusher out of Miami. Now, he is older, but he is one of the guys that can step in and make an impact right away. Tampa Bay's pass rush needs a boost. Last year, they finished outside the top 10 in sacks for the first time since 2018. That's 7 straight years of finishing in the top 10 in total sacks, and they just need edge help. And Akeem Messidor can provide that. He's like 25 years old already, but I think he can provide that immediately. Kenyon Sadiq would be a fun pick to add alongside Emeka Egbuka and another weapon for Baker Mayfield. But, they could also draft tight end a little later if needed. Linebacker class is deep enough to fill the void of Levante David. I think they may do that later on. And it's too early to go linebacker here. So Akeem Messidor and Kenyon Sadiq are definitely the top two, but I have them addressing the need on the defensive side of the ball and getting that edge rush that they so desperately need. Next up, the Jets are back on the clock at 16, but like you said, Tanner, from the Rams to about the Jets right here, everyone's going to try and get ahead of Detroit and select an offensive tackle. So don't be surprised if one of these teams like Tampa Bay, like New York, like LA or Baltimore takes some picks, extra picks, moves back, and lets someone come up like, say, the Eagles, the Steelers, the Browns are a possibility. Those 3 teams, I would say, are the most need for offensive tackle. Even the Lions could try and get up ahead of 17 to just get their guy. But next up, the Jets are on the clock at 16th overall, and the pick is in.
Jets, Jets. The pick is in. Man, do they need some help here? Kind of already discussed a little bit about what they need earlier. Could they look to strike at wide receiver here? Certainly a guy like Omar Cooper Jr. out of Indiana would be available. Brady, who do you have the New York Jets selecting at number 16?
Yeah, this one is hard to predict. The top three receivers are off the board. They already addressed their edge need. It's too early for Ty Simpson. I think they go cornerback here. I think they select Jermod McCoy, the number 2 cornerback in this class. Now there is news that he is going to fall. Will Johnson, cornerback out of Michigan, fell last year in round 2. I did project the Arizona Cardinals selecting him in round 1, but they ended up selecting him in round 2. Great value for the Cardinals there. But I don't see the Jets passing on a talent like this after losing Sauce Gardner last year. I think that they can address wide receiver at the top end. They pick 33rd, so they have the first pick of the second round, and I think they can address wide receiver at that pick. So I'm going to have them hold off on wide receiver for now, even though Omar Cooper Jr. would be fun to pair alongside Garrett Wilson. They go Jermod, lockdown McCoy from Tennessee, who's going to help maybe be the next Sauce Gardner, and hopefully that injury they are not too worried about, so they select him here. The Detroit Lions and the offensive tackle run is about to begin. They are on the clock, and the pick is in. That was fast.
Pick is in for the Lions. And just to add on the Jets, could we see them addressing quarterback at that 33rd pick?
Definitely could, but I think they wait till 2027, where I believe they have multiple first rounders because they got Dallas's as well. And the 2027 class looks a lot better than Ty Simpson at 33.
Awesome. Do appreciate the insight. Back to the Lions. The pick is in. What will the Detroit Lions do? Needs at edge. Needs on the offensive line. Frank Ragnow came back unretired. Came back, retired again. That's certainly a messy situation. The offensive line needs help because of it. The secondary looking very vulnerable last year. Got to protect Jared Goff, of course. Who could the Lions go with here? None other than Brady. The pick is in.
Taylor Decker's leaving. They need to fill that offensive tackle void. Monroe Freeling out of Georgia now. He's going to fill that left tackle spot. They got Penei Sewell at right tackle. There has been talks that Penei Sewell might move to left tackle. But the 2 left tackles to watch out for in this kind of offensive tackle run, it's going to be Monroe Freeling and Caden Proctor. I wouldn't be shocked. I mocked Caden Proctor to the Lions in my mock 1.0. Would not be shocked if they go Caden Proctor right here. I've got him as the best offensive lineman available as of right now. He is 16th on my big board. I have, let me see here. I have him 16th. I have Monroe Freeling 19th. I think they could go either one, but I'm projecting Monroe Freeling as of now. This stabilizes the blind side for Jared Goff and reinforces that offensive line moving forward. And they can fill the edge rusher, maybe DB later on in this draft. I think that Monroe Freeling really helps them out here, and they get their offensive lineman. The Vikings are next up on the clock, and they could go a couple different directions at pick number 18.
And the pick is in for the Minnesota Vikings. Could they look to bolster the offensive line and newly signed Kyler Murray? Definitely needs some help getting after the quarterback on the defensive line. Secondary looking incredibly vulnerable last year. Dylan Thieneman from out of Oregon, he certainly could be an option here. I don't know if that'll be the kid out of Toledo would maybe be the second option if he's not there. I don't know, Brady. Who do you have the Vikings selecting at pick 18?
Yeah, I got them going safety. Dylan Thieneman, kind of filling that Harrison Smith role. He's gonna need to be that future at safety for this defense. He has a lot of great schematic fit for the Minnesota Vikings and Brian Flores. I believe it's Dylan Thieneman. It definitely could be defensive line. Peter Woods has been a guy that has been kind of one of the favorites of Minnesota, so I wouldn't be surprised if he goes here. But teams are loving Dylan Thieneman. Does he even make it here? If he doesn't make it here, I could see them going Peter Woods out of Clemson, stabilizing that defensive line. Maybe Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, as you mentioned, out of Toledo, could be a good safety if Dylan Thieneman is off the board. But Jermon McCoy is another option along that back end if they need to fill a DB role and he starts to fall. But I like Dylan Thieneman a lot here out of Oregon. He has definitely Harrison Smith characteristics, and it'd be a great addition for this Minnesota Vikings defense. Next up, the Carolina Panthers are on the clock at pick 19. Do they select another offensive weapon for the third year in a row?
Carolina Panthers selection is in. I think they look to go safety or tight end here. If Thieneman is available, I definitely could see him landing there. But I think fantasy fans and Brady are all in sync on the pick here. And we are not talking about Denzel Boston out of Washington or Casey Concepcion out of Texas A&M. Instead, the pick is in for the Panthers, and it is
Kenyon Sadiq, tight end, Oregon. 2 Oregon players back-to-back in this draft. You know, speaking of back-to-back, the Panthers have gone back-to-back wide receivers in the last 2 drafts in the first round. Xavier Legette, Tetaroa McMillan. They get another Bryce Young weapon here in Kenyon Sadiq. They definitely could go corner. They could go edge rusher. They could go safety, even offensive line. But I think they get Bryce Young another weapon because why not? Honestly, you need to fill that tight end position for him. I think Kenyon Sadiq brings a lot of versatility. He's almost a wide receiver the way he plays. Yeah, I really like the dynamic element to his game. He's got a great receiving ability, and his athleticism helps him produce, yards after the catch. I like him a lot here to the Carolina Panthers, and this is a great fantasy destination. Almost everyone, I think, is picking Sadiq to either go to Tampa Bay or Carolina. I don't see him making it past then. If he does, he's going to be an absolute steal. Next up, the Dallas Cowboys are on the clock at 20, and I'm hearing rumors of a trade happening, Tanner. The trade has come through. The Cleveland Browns have traded with Dallas. They have traded picks 24 and 70 to Dallas, and they move up to number 20 to get ahead of this offensive tackle run and receive pick 92 from Dallas in return. So the Cleveland Browns send out 24 and 70, and in return they get number 20 and number 92, and the Browns have already submitted their pick at number 20 overall. The pick is in.
The Cowboys trade pick number 20 to the Browns is what I'm hearing.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. Gosh, I was excited to preview the Dallas Cowboys one more time. That new 3-4 defense. They need
soon.
They need some guys, some big boys that can control the gaps, But okay, all right. The pick is in for the Cleveland Browns. Brady, who do you have the Browns trading up and selecting here at 20?
Here, this is exactly what I mentioned earlier. They're going to take an offensive tackle with either the first pick in the first round or the second pick in the second round. And then this time I have them going offensive tackle, Caden Proctor out of Alabama. They need a left tackle here. He can also move inside to guard if possible. If they want to do that. But the Steelers and Eagles are 2 prime candidates for offensive tackles, so don't be surprised to see Cleveland jump both of them here and get their guy in Caden Proctor. Like I said, it could be Monroe Freeling as well. It really just depends on how this draft falls, but Caden Proctor is the top offensive tackle on my draft that remains, and I think it's a no-brainer for them to get ahead of the Steelers, who would probably take Caden Proctor at 21. Great move by Cleveland to get ahead of these runs on offensive tackles. And now the Steelers the local hometown team, is on the clock at 21st overall.
And with that, the pick is in at 21 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Man, this team could look to bolster the edge. Could definitely need some help at linebacker, tight end, question mark on this football team. Now, Adam Schefter recently reported that left tackle Broderick Jones suffered a setback to the neck injury he sustained last season, putting him in question for 2026. Tackle already was in play for the Steelers based on Broderick Jones's on-field performance. This would make it a highly important round one need if they were to attack that position. Brady, who do you have the Pittsburgh Steelers selecting at 21 overall?
Yep, like I said, they need an offensive tackle, so that's why Cleveland jumped them. They're going to go offensive tackle here. Caleb Lomu, the second Utah offensive lineman off the board. It's tricky because they really need guard to fill the void that Samalu got shipped off. He's gone. He's in Arizona now. So they need, with the departure of Samalu, they need interior offensive line, but there's really only one interior offensive lineman in this draft that is worthy of a first-round selection, and that is Vengo Iwane, who has gone to the division rival Baltimore Ravens at pick 14. Caleb Lomu, though, he can play left tackle and right tackle. Like you mentioned, Tanner, Broderick Jones suffering a setback. I think this gives them long-term upside at offensive tackle, helps protect Aaron Rodgers. They definitely could go wide receiver here as well. Tight end is a possibility if Kenyon Sadiq starts to slide. I think it's too early for linebacker, and edge rusher can be honestly picked up in the later rounds. I think, they really need offensive tackle or wide receiver first and foremost, maybe even tight end. Could they go quarterback here? Maybe Aaron Rodgers isn't coming back and they know something we don't, and they go Ty Simpson here. That is definitely a possibility, and I think the crowd would go absolutely wild in Pittsburgh if they announced Ty Simpson as the 21st overall pick. But I think they're going to go kind of a lame pick here with Caleb Lomu, offensive tackle. Look for the wide receivers possibility is Omar Cooper Jr., Casey Concepcion, or maybe Denzel Boston, but I think they need to address that offensive line first and foremost. They got Michael Pittman. They got DK Metcalf. Maybe they get wide receiver in round 2, address that need later. And the Los Angeles Chargers are on the clock at 22nd overall.
Pick 22 is in for the LA Chargers. Man, what a disaster of a performance that they put on in the playoffs last year. That first half was just abysmal. Turnover after turnover after turnover in that football game. But they also need to force some turnovers themselves. Could they look to boost the edge, that defensive line? Could they look to boost the interior of their O-line? Certainly saw how weak they were at that position last year. Or could there possibly be a world where Jermod McCoy, we know that teams have concerns over his January of 2025 ACL tear. Could there be a world that he slips this far and the Chargers take him? I don't think we already talked about him. He already got selected in this mock, but I don't think there's concern about his ability to play in 2026. It's just more about the long term. So could he slip this far and the Chargers steal him? Brady, the pick is in though. Who do you have the Chargers selecting at 22 overall?
Yeah, the dream scenario would be Vengo Iwane, like I said, for the Steelers. If he falls here, they select him. No brainer. Need a interior lineman, but they can fill that need maybe in round 2. They could go defensive line, Caden McDonald, TJ Parker, Peter Woods, or some guys, but I think they go Keldrick Folk, edge rusher out of Auburn, steal here to develop alongside Khalil Mack, and could be a long-term successor for Khalil Mack. And I think they just need that edge rusher to get the pass rush started. Khalil Mack's getting old. They need a younger guy on this defense, and he definitely does the job here, Keldrick Folk, my best available edge rusher going to Los Angeles and helping out this defense produce some sacks, hopefully. And since he's so young, he can definitely rotate early on, doesn't have to be an every down guy, which may help take the load off of him. and become a great pass rusher in this league. Next up, the Philadelphia Eagles are on the clock, and we've heard rumors that A.J. Brown's getting traded. Where's he going? Is he going to New England, Tanner? They're on the clock, and the pick is in at 23 for Philly.
Pick is in for the Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah, speaking of that A.J. Brown trade, rumored from Adam Schefter that the Eagles are expected to trade A.J. Brown after June 1st to the New England Patriots. Now, with the NFL draft approaching today, could that mean the Eagles want to draft a guy like Boston, wide receiver out of Washington, or a Kenyon Sadiq from Oregon, maybe, if those two guys are available here? Of course, on this mock, Sadiq's already been taken at 15 to the Buccaneers. But I think they go offensive tackle out of Clemson. With the right tackle Lane Johnson last year and the left guard Landon Dickerson considering retirement. And they don't really have any depth at those positions on the roster. That could change this year. If they do take a guy like Blake Miller. He had 53 career starts in college at Clemson. I think a lot of teams see him as the top tackle prospect in this draft. But that's enough from me, Brady. The pick is in for the Eagles. Who do you have them selecting?
Yeah, Blake Miller, offensive tackle out of Clemson. Lane Johnson, as you mentioned, missed the final 8 games of the regular season, or I think that also includes the postseason, but final 8 games of the season last year. Entering his age 35 season, they need to start planning for the future. And Blake Miller is the best available offensive tackle. And honestly, he's better, I think, than Caleb Lomu as far as impactful starters go. He's durable, started every game, as you mentioned, for all 4 years at Clemson. This guy has a proven track record, and I think that's a good thing for Philadelphia. They definitely could go edge rusher. They could go safety in Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, Keldrick Folk. Definitely some options there, but I think they stick to the offensive tackle run, which is now 3 of the offensive tackles off the board in the last 4 picks. Like I said, it's going to be a lot of run on offensive tackle here later in the draft, mid to late first round. And now the Cowboys are on the clock after their trade with Cleveland at pick 24, back-to-back NFC East selections. And we'll see who the Cowboys go here. The pick is in.
Pick is in for the Dallas Cowboys. New defensive coordinator, first-time defensive coordinator, Christian Parker on the scene. Who are the Cowboys going to look to add at 24, Brady?
They're either going edge at 12 and corner at 20, corner at 12, edge at 20. This time I had them trading back to 24. They took an edge earlier in Ruben Bain Jr. They go with cornerback Chris Johnson out of San Diego State with his versatility and able to play in man and zone schemes. This is a big-time upgrade for this secondary who finished dead last in passing yards allowed and tied for second to last in interceptions. Not saying much for second to last in interceptions because the team who finished dead last in interceptions was the New York Jets at 0 interceptions. Chris Johnson is a great fit here for the Dallas Cowboys. Now, some other defensive backs that I like in this range for Dallas. Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, definitely a good safety prospect that the Cowboys could add in this range. Dylan Thieneman, if he were to fall, would be a fantastic value at pick 24, and that might be the steal of the draft. Another corner I really like at the back end of this round is Colton Hood, cornerback out of Tennessee. Hey, if Jermod McCoy, speaking of Tennessee, if Jermod McCoy happens to slip to 24, maybe the Cowboys pull the trigger, but I know there are concerns with his knee injury, and it just really depends on what the Cowboys do here, but I think they go Chris Johnson, cornerback out of San Diego State. Should be a good pick for them. They can address linebacker next up. They get their 2 biggest needs in edge and defensive back. Linebacker is deep enough. I think they could even go Jacob Rodriguez later on in this draft, but that may be too far-fetched. I don't think he falls to 70 now that they have picked 70 from Cleveland, but that would be fun if they get Jacob Rodriguez. I know all the Texas Tech fans in Dallas would be cheering. Tanner, do you have anything to say with this Cowboys pick at pick 24? You're muted, Tanner.
I like the pick. I like the pick. It's interesting because if the Browns were picking here, then they'd probably go Denzel Boston. Like they would be nervously watching and hoping like there's not just a massive receiver run prior to this pick. So interesting to see how that could shake up the latter half of that first round with this trade. Cowboys definitely have to go defense, like no questions asked. I think everybody knows that. Well, we'll see. We'll see. I don't have high expectations for them this year, but
Yeah,
we will see.
it's going to be interesting tomorrow night.
Mm-hmm.
Pick 25, the Chicago Bears. Wow. Crazy to see them picking this late, but they are on the clock.
Right?
pick 25.
Alrighty, pick 25 for the Chicago Bears is in. This team certainly could use some help at rushing the passer last year, and stopping the run, honestly, and stopping the pass. Let's be real. The Bears were not the typical Bears of old, if we're being honest. Byard went to Tennessee, and I can't remember where the other guy went off to, but certainly some gaps in the back half of their defense. Brady, who do you have the Chicago Bears? Or could they look to go tackle, honestly? Like
They could
look to go tackle and protect Caleb Williams, left tackle, possibly. They had a rookie that played last year for 6 games, and then he suffered a season-ending knee injury that's expected to keep him out this year. So left tackle, maybe. Could they look to get Caleb Lomu, maybe, if he's available? 21-year-old, 2-year starter who you could say is plug and play on the blind side. I don't know. I think, but then Lomu's on the radar for the Lions, the Texans, the Niners,
Steelers,
the Eagles, right? So interesting. But Brady, who do you have the Chicago Bears taking at 25?
Yeah, I have them filling a safety need after their 2 starting safeties departed. Clear void in that secondary. Kobe Bryant, though, added from Seattle. Safety who helped develop Nick Manwari, who I had as a first-round selection last year. He slipped to round 2, and the Seattle Seahawks won the friggin' Super Bowl because of it. I have them taking Emmanuel McNeil-Warren out of Toledo, and honestly, he reminds me of Nicky Manwari last year, and who not better than Kobe Bryant to develop him in this secondary. They definitely could go defensive line as well as offensive line in this range. Peter Woods, Caden McDonald, 2 defensive tackles that I think Chicago definitely is looking at. There are a lot of edge rushers in this range. And honestly, after pick around, I want to say around pick 18 to 20, after that, like edge rusher and all these different grades from 20 to like 40 are really just dependent on what the team ranks these players as. Because the Bears could have a defensive tackle way higher than, say, the Texans at 28. So it really just depends on the team, where they have on their big board based on their scouting. So I think the back half of this round is going to be crazy because there's going to be so many players going that you may not expect. But Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, I think, is the fit here in Chicago to get that safety, fill that void alongside Kobe Bryant, and help this Bears secondary in the run game. They finished bottom 6 in the league in run defense last year. So they need a guy who can step up in the box like Emmanuel McNeil-Warren and help stop the run, or they go defensive tackle and help stop the run here. Tanner, any thoughts on this? I know we were talking about what do we think Chicago is going to do, and I know you mentioned safety.
Yeah. I don't know. I could see. I like your pick. I like your pick. I don't think Bears fans would have any complaints about that either.
Yeah, I agree. I think that they would love that pick. And next up on the clock, 26th, the Buffalo Bills are on the clock, but I'm hearing there's a trade back into the first round by the Arizona Cardinals, and they have traded with Buffalo. Buffalo has traded to pick 34, and they acquire picks 34 and 65 from Arizona. And in exchange, they give up pick 26 and pick 91. Arizona's back on the clock in the first round to maybe select someone we were talking about earlier. The pick is in for Arizona.
And the pick is in for Arizona. It makes sense now why the Jets might not be taking this guy at 33 because he's getting snatched up at 26. Brady, who do you have the Arizona Cardinals selecting at 26?
Yep. I think the Arizona Cardinals trade up, get their guy, Ty Simpson, with this new coaching regime in Arizona, getting their guy, quarterback out of Alabama. The Bills, I have them taken at 34, Malachi Lawrence, edge rusher out of UCF, so they get their edge rusher need. But Arizona, big time quarterback need. They have to give up some draft capital this year, but they addressed quarterback and edge rusher, two of their biggest needs. Now they can look to the O-line, even though they're not going to have a pick for a while, but they may have to fill that next year. I think this is a good start for this new regime in Arizona to get Ty Simpson in here and secure their quarterback of the future. They have to jump the Jets. If they don't jump the Jets, there's a chance the Jets just pass and he falls right into their lap anyways. But I think Arizona's going to get a little impatient and they're going to start jumping into this first round and they're going to take Ty Simpson right here. Now, I don't know if it's 26, but Tanner, I did get the quarterback jump correct last year. I had the Giants jumping in. I did not have the pick correct, but they did jump. I had them jumping back in to get Jackson Dart last year, and that was correct. So hopefully I can go 2 for 2 in the last 2 years on this quarterback at the end of round 1.
With that Giants pick, right? If you remember, who did they trade with last year? The Houston Texans.
Yep.
They made a deal with the Houston Texans. So could this maybe be a trade that the Cardinals pull off with the Texans at 28 instead, and where the Texans are looking to trade out of the first round for the second year in a row?
Could definitely be. And that would just give the Texans more ammo in this range of the draft to fill alongside the D-line, the O-line. Definitely in this range, there's a lot of interior linemen that the Texans could target. There's a lot of defensive linemen that the Texans can target. So, yeah, I could see that being a possibility. I think Buffalo, though, they just need a little more. And Houston can maybe get their guy at 28. And they also have pick 38 as well. So they don't necessarily have to trade back, but definitely could be a prime candidate for it. I know they like trading back and acquiring picks, and they don't really have that many big-time needs in Houston, so I could definitely see it. Arizona has picked Ty Simpson, and now 27th overall, the San Francisco 49ers, another team that could possibly trade back. They're on the clock at 27.
And the pick is in for the San Francisco 49ers, coming in at pick 27, back half of round 1 now. They just extended Trent Williams. I don't know if you saw that through 2027, Brady. There's a lot of movement for Lemieux here. He's certainly been a popular name.
Yep.
He still could be in play if he makes it to this point. But I have to imagine the Niners, much like another team we're getting ready to talk about, is more of a best player available approach type of team. And I imagine that you're on par with that too here, with who you have being selected at number 27 by the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, honestly, I think they go wide receiver here, Omar Cooper Jr. out of Indiana. Now, he definitely could go earlier to Pittsburgh, and in that case, I could see Caleb Lemieux falling right into the Niners' lap. Again, taking best player available, going with that approach. Like I said, they don't have that many needs. Extended Trent Williams, they don't necessarily need an offensive tackle this year, but it wouldn't be a bad thing if they drafted Caleb Lemieux. They could go with Max Ianacor out of Arizona State, another offensive tackle. But yeah, I think they just stay on this train. Best player available, go Omar Cooper Jr. out of Indiana. He provides a lot of versatility in this receiving game. They do have Mike Evans added to this wide receiver core, but I just think they need more depth. Mike Evans getting older. They need a guy who can help out in the slot, and that is Omar Cooper Jr. out of Indiana. So I think, best player available, trade back if needed. San Francisco, really no sweat here. I think they just go with whoever they have atop their board.
Now, I
And
know we were just talking about Nicky Manwari in the second round and how that won a Super Bowl for Seattle.
Yep.
Certainly could see a world where division rival 49ers want to get a player with a similar impact here.
Definitely.
If Emmanuel McNeil Warren were to fall, and we know that the impact that we expect him to have, could you imagine those scenes now? Just those two players in those same division having those similar of impacts.
Yeah, I mean, you lose Hufanga. He goes to the Broncos last year. The Broncos make the AFC Championship. They definitely have a need there.
Mm-hmm.
Emmanuel McNeil Warren would be a lot of help, but that would be fun to see. I really think San Francisco's kind of sit back and relax here. They're not sweating this pick at all. The Houston Texans maybe even could trade up here. They're up next at pick 28, but I think they stick and pick, have needs alongside both offensive linemen and defensive line at pick 28. The Houston Texans are on the clock.
Pick is in at 28 for the Houston Texans. Certainly have needs on the interior of their O-line. Question marks at tackle as well. Defensive tackle also. I was speaking offensive tackle at first. Brady, who do you have the Houston Texans selecting here? They're going to get somebody to protect C.J. Stroud?
They definitely could, Tanner, but I don't have them doing that quite yet. I think I pick 38 in the second round. They can get an interior offensive lineman. There's a couple right there. I'm just going to list them out for you here real quick. Chase Basantis, Texas A&M. He's going to be available in that range. He's an offensive guard. You've got Emmanuel Pregnon, offensive guard out of Oregon. Those two, definitely look out for them in that second round range for this offensive line to get some depth to it. Could also look at Giddings Dunker and Caleb Tiernan, two offensive tackle prospects. Max Ianacor, definitely in play here for the Houston Texans. Caleb Lomu, also possibly in play, but I don't think he gets past San Francisco. I think Max Ianacor is the guy if they're going to go offensive tackle here. But like I said, they can get the interior offensive line addressed later at pick 38. So they go defensive line. Caden McDonald out of Ohio State. The Texans will have him help out big time with the impactful run-stopping ability that he provides out of Ohio State and complement that front. They just extended Will Anderson Jr. I think this is great company for Will Anderson Jr. here and keep that defense upgraded. They have great secondary. It's going to be fun to watch what the Texans do. They don't really need a lot, but Caden McDonald will be a big impactful player. They could also go Peter Woods along the defensive line here. It's going to be interesting to see what they do at 28. Like you said, Tanner, they could trade back if the Cardinals really want to trade up. They've been trade partners in the past. That will be something to look out for. The Kansas City Chiefs are up next at pick 29. This pick is from LA. In the Trent McDuffie trade, this one came over, and the Chiefs are now on the clock.
Pick 29 is in from the Kansas City Chiefs. I think we know what position that they're going to target here. I think they need to go cornerback. The question is, with you having Chris Johnson going earlier to the Cowboys, if he was to be available, would the Chiefs take him here, or would they take another guy? Brady, who do you have the Chiefs selecting?
Yeah, if he's available here, I think they definitely could go that, but I have them going Colton Hood, cornerback out of Tennessee. Now, an interesting nugget right here would be, what if Jermod McCoy were to fall all the way down to 29 and be available, the number 2 cornerback in this class? becomes available at 29 somehow, and the Kansas City Chiefs, I think, pull the trigger on that. But in this mock draft, he's gone already. I have them selecting the other corner out of Tennessee in Colton Hood. Like I said, the Chiefs lost their top 2 cornerbacks this season, and they have pick number 40.
Both to
Let's
the
not
Rams.
forget, 11 picks from now. Trent McDuffie shipped off. Hood brings potential to step in and contribute immediately. He allowed just 1 touchdown across his entire career at Tennessee. So that is an impactful draft choice for this Kansas City Chiefs defense at pick 29. I think they address edge. I know people talk about wide receiver, but Tanner, do you think wide receiver is really that big of a need with Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy there? I don't see that as big of a need as corner right here.
I think wide receiver would be in play if the board fell a little bit differently. You could ask the question: are they going to re-sign Rashee Rice with his off the field conduct? You know, Xavier Worthy hasn't necessarily broken out yet. But you know, I just think with the way that this mock has fallen so far, I don't see them going receiver. It's just not favorable to them. I think instead, like Spagnuolo would get, you know, a cornerback who's fast and long-limbed with tenacity, who fights to win the ball. Like you said, Brady, you know, with Trent McDuffie and Jalen Watson off to the Rams, the Chiefs have a very big need at outside corner.
Yeah. Colton Hood, Jermod McCoy. I mean, if Jermod McCoy were to fall all the way here, and that would be crazy. I mean, it'd be Will Johnson 2.0, but we'll see if Jermod McCoy falls or he goes earlier, mid-round. But that's an interesting nugget. This pick is going to be an interesting one to see what the Chiefs do. Now the Dolphins back on the clock. We get back-to-back teams with 2 first-round picks. At pick number 30, the Dolphins acquired this pick from Denver in the trade for Jalen Waddle, and the pick is in for the Miami Dolphins.
The pick is in at 30 for the Dolphins. Like you mentioned, Brady, the Jalen Waddle trade coming into effect here. You know, this was considered a trade back spot, I'd say. If the Cardinals don't trade up with Buffalo, like Brady was saying, then, you know, Miami maybe prefers more picks to more prolific picks this year, if that makes sense. You know, considering their roster, they'd probably rather have more picks at this point. So should the Dolphins stay here is one thing. You know, their new coach he probably certainly wants to bolster the cornerback position. So you know, I think there's some options here for the Dolphins. You know, everyone wanted to talk about Mekhi Lemon early on, just being a match-made dream for the Dolphins. But Brady, who do you have the Dolphins selecting at 30?
Yeah, I have them getting their wide receiver 1 because hopefully they don't roll into the season with Jalen Tolbert and Tutu Atwell as the top 2 wide receivers. They get Casey Concepcion, wide receiver out of Texas A&M. Now, the Miami Dolphins have had great success with the other product out of Texas A&M with Devon Achane. But yeah, this wide receiver core has to be the thinnest wide receiver core in the league. You lose Tyreek Hill, you lose Jalen Waddle, and now you're stuck with Jalen Tolbert as your wide receiver 1. They now get Casey Concepcion. I think he's honestly ahead of Omar Cooper Jr. for me, and I think this is an absolute steal for Miami. The Denzel Boston, Omar Cooper Jr., Casey Concepcion, all in play here. But I think Casey Concepcion is the best receiver, not named Tyson, Mekhi Lemon, or Cardinal Tate in this first round. So I think I'm loving this pick. You know, you add Mansour Delane, lockdown number 1 corner, you get your wide receiver 1 in Casey Concepcion, and he can provide some punt return value, kick return value as well. Him and HN are speedy fast, so that's going to be fun to watch for this Miami offense. And they replaced Jalen Waddle from this pick from Denver, so it's very fitting that they go wide receiver here. Now, Tanner, your New England Patriots are up next at pick 31. Go back-to-back AFC East picks, and the pick is in for the New England Patriots, Tanner.
And the pick is in for your 6-time Super Bowl champion New England Patriots.
What do they
Speaking
do?
of the Super Bowl,
Okay.
man, oh man. After
What-
watching the game, you might imagine the Patriots could be looking to go tackle here, not left tackle to replace Will Campbell, who certainly had a bad game during the Super Bowl, but maybe at right tackle to replace Morgan Moses, who's going into his age 35 season. We have a need up front. Certainly could see them taking the tackle out of Arizona State. We seem to be linked to him a lot. Could we reach now? Now, before we reach, could we trade back?
Yes.
Yes. If this is anything like the old regime, which we're still a little bit of, Mike Vrabel, Elliott Wolf, we trade back. I think we would trade back to a spot with Arizona at 34. I think Arizona doesn't really know what to do with that pick, honestly. And if the Jets don't take Simpson at 33, then he's probably not going to go inside the top 40. Arizona could probably get him later. But I don't know. I think we take the tackle from Arizona State.
Yep.
I do not like any product out of Arizona State going in the first round of the New England Patriots. Shout out N'Keal Harry.
Yeah, he didn't turn out good.
The rumors that we could trade back to 34 and select the tight end out of Vanderbilt. I want to throw that out there.
I love that.
Rumors we stay put, take the tackle from ASU.
Eli Stowers, tight end out of Vanderbilt.
Yes.
Former A&M tight end, actually.
Yep.
Former A&M wide receiver.
Yep. 6'3", 242 pounds. Runs a 4.5 40.
Mm-hmm.
4.51.
He'd be a fun new weapon for Drake
Him
May.
and Hunter Henry,
Yep.
But yeah, I don't know. I
Best player available.
yes, thank you for reminding me. I've been telling Brady that no matter what, the Patriots are going to take the best available player. It doesn't matter if it's besides quarterback, sorry, but
yeah.
it could literally be the best available corner, and we'd still take him and pair him with Gonzo and Carlton Davis. Like, we're gonna take the best available player regardless of need. But Brady, who do you have? The 6-time Super Bowl champion New England Patriots selecting at 31.
Well, they need to keep pressure off Drake May, so I got them taking Max Yannicor, Arizona State tackle. Mike Vrabel, getting in some work with him at the pro day, which was fun to see.
I saw that.
Definitely worth the investment. He only started playing football about 5 or 6 years ago, I believe.
Yep.
So he's
year of high school.
very raw talent. Definitely has a lot to develop. But like you said, Morgan Moses still there. I know he's old, but they can have him develop behind
him for a year.
Yeah, and that wouldn't hurt. That wouldn't hurt at all. That honestly might be the best thing for him. Another couple players I like here, the Clemson players, T.J. Parker, edge rusher, Peter Woods, defensive tackle. I like Zion Young, edge rusher here. Just adding to that D line if you're going best player available. Maybe even if they like C.J. Allen, linebacker out of Georgia, that might be a guy that they go with. Depending on what corner and how they rank their corners, that could be another pick here. Like you're saying, Tanner, just best player available. Definitely could go wide receiver here. If Casey Concepcion were to fall, that'd be a pick that I would like to see.
Yeah.
With another weapon for Drake May, but I don't know. They could get wide receiver later and kind of figure that out later on.
And I know you had us selecting Casey Concepcion in another one of your mocks, but that was before the A.J. Brown news and before we talked about, the Patriots are just simply going to take the best available player.
Yep. If they're getting A.J. Brown, they don't need a wide receiver right here. They go
and it's
offensive or defensive line, I think.
Yeah. It's super annoying that we have or that you have Concepcion going to in our division a pick before us.
I know. Sorry about that.
So I don't love that, but
hopefully he goes sooner. to the
We'll see how
Steelers
this
or
goes.
something. Yeah.
We will see.
And now on to the Seattle Seahawks at pick 32 to round out the first round.
Coming in at pick number 32. The Seattle Seahawks, your Super Bowl champion.
Dang, I didn't think you would say that.
Seattle Seahawks. Alrighty. Gosh. That one took something out of me, let me tell you. Yeah. Who needs for this team? KW9 off to the Chiefs. Big signing for the
Big
Chiefs.
time.
They do have Sharps injured. He's going to be out for the year. You know, they have a need at running back. Are we going to get another Rashad Penny 2.0 here at 32? Certainly not with Pete Carroll out of the equation, out of the NFL, actually. Dude lost his job.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so needs a running back, needs a cornerback. And
would you even call it a need at edge rusher?
I can't. I cannot. After the stunts I saw them running in that game.
I honestly think it's just for them to add on to wreak havoc, basically.
Give them some more depth, why don't you? Yeah, okay, so the pick is in for the Seattle Seahawks. Brady, who do you have?
Yeah, I got them going edge. Zion Young, best player available out of Missouri. I think they just continue to bolster that elite defense. They definitely could go corner here. They did have some cornerback departures here. They had some secondary departures. Kobe Bryant, safety, going to Chicago. Where's their other corner going? I can't remember off the top of my head. But they had a corner that was shipped off. I need to find that out. They could draft Avion Terrell here, Colton Hood, Chris Johnson. Those are three corners that have been linked to them. Definitely could fill that secondary need. I don't think they take another safety here after getting Nicky Manwari.
What about Malachi? Would they take him?
Malachi Lawrence?
Yeah, would they take him?
I think they could. Add another edge rusher named Lawrence on that defensive front. And
could they trade out?
They definitely could trade out. I think in Mock 1.0, I had them trading back with Arizona back to 34, 2 spots, just so Arizona jumps the Jets and selects Ty Simpson. They definitely could trade out. They don't really need much, but hey, I did project the Seattle Seahawks pick correctly last year. Gray Zabel.
You did. Spot on.
Spot on. Interior offensive lineman. Great pickup by them. I can't believe they got him and Nicky Manwari, 2 first-round players that I had last year. They got them in the first and second round. I don't know how the hell that happened, but it did. It's absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, they could trade back here, acquire more picks. They don't really have a pressing need, but running back, big point right here. Jadarian Price, could he go in round 1 and we see both Notre Dame running backs go off the board? I think clearly they're the 2 best running backs in the draft, and there's no question about it. Third best running back would be Mike Washington Jr., I believe is his name, out of Arkansas. He's the 3rd best running back, but he's not going. It's going to be Jadarian Price, and I wouldn't be surprised if they go him here or trade back and go him early second round. So that's going to round out the mock 2.0 at pick 32. Just a fun little nugget. I got Denzel Boston going 33 to the New York Jets, and then 34 the Bills traded back with Arizona, and I got them going Malachi Lawrence, edge rusher out of UCF at pick 34. Well, Tanner, you got any other questions before we round this out here? The mock 2.0 will be live tomorrow. The NFL draft. It's going to be fun tomorrow night. So anything else to add on your front?
Seattle trades out. You think that Arizona panics and tries to trade in back into the first?
If Arizona hasn't traded in yet.
And would they do an in-division trade? Sorry, that was my last part of that.
That's the other thing. I think trading back 2 spots, I don't think it matters too much to them. especially right here where, like I said, picks like 20 to 40 can go any which way based on where people have players on their board. It's kind of a mix mash, whereas I feel like there's a solid top 15 first round grade players, maybe 16 players, but after that, it's kind of up in the air on where teams have grades. So I think Seattle definitely can trade back here, but they don't want to trade too far back because they have a need at running back. And if one of these teams drafts a running back, say the Titans go Sonny Styles and they want to get Jadarian Price at the top of the second round, definitely could. Don't think the Cardinals go running back. I don't think the Jets go running back with Breece Hall. So it's going to be fun to watch, but Seattle definitely could trade back. It'd be honestly pretty easy for them, just not too far, so they can still get Price or a corner.
All right. And yeah, so Mendoza definitely a lock at number 1.
Yep. After that, good luck.
All right. Will any other quarterback go in the first round?
Ty Simpson.
Okay.
That's
Jeremiah Love landing in the top 5, yes?
Yep.
We're just
Lock
recapping here.
Lock it in.
We're just recapping here. And which teams you have trading down?
The Dallas Cowboys trading back from 20. The Bills trading back from 26. And do we see a trade inside the top 10? Don't know. But definitely could be a possibility with all these teams wanting to move back. Do the Cowboys ship off George Pickens tomorrow night? Now, that would be electric. What if George Pickens were to go to what if he were to go to Kansas City? Get their new wide receiver 1.
We're not worried about Chiefs receivers. We're worried about the Patriots receivers.
Yeah. A.J. Brown. Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be an interesting night. I encourage people to really stay off Twitter because picks will be spoiled. Put your phone away and just watch the draft. Text your friends, text your family, but try and stay off Twitter. Turn off notifications. The tip picking will be redonkulous. There's one guy I won't mention by name, but we all know who he is.
3 letters?
3 letters.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, it is what it is. It's going to be a fun one. I have a feeling there's going to be a lot more trades than I'm mocking. I mocked 2 trades. I think there's more than that. I think you'll see a trade between pick 13 and 16, maybe 17. And definitely, I think there might be a trade within the top 10, maybe 2. So I decided not to mock all these trades. Felt like it was going to get messy. So yeah, this mock will be live tomorrow. So actually, may even send it out tonight. But if you're listening to this on Thursday, it will be live on X. You can go see it. Thank you guys for tuning in to this mock draft 2.0. If you want to see the mock draft 1.0, I believe it's on the website, so you can click on that. And the mock draft 2.0 will also be on the website, BA Sports Podcast, mailerpage.io. Thank you all for tuning in to this 2026 NFL mock draft. Hopefully, you get a lot of green check marks and correct picks tomorrow night. But if not, it's still a lot of fun to do this anyways. Because this year, especially with everything being up in the air, I felt like way more comfortable with the top 4 or 5 picks last year. This year, I have no clue. I am just going based on my board, best available player. Doesn't matter positional value. Just go. Jeremiah Love, Caleb Downs, 2 lesser positions going inside the top 5. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. You have multiple teams with multiple first-round picks, so that's going to be a lot of excitement. And looking forward to it on Thursday night in Pittsburgh. But without further ado, I think we'll sign off for the night. Thank you all for tuning in to the BA Sports Podcast. Thank you, Tanner, for helping host this mock draft, moving it along pick by pick. It was a great Mock Draft 2.0 for 2026, and look out for 2027 next year. We'll be on it. Thank you guys for listening, and have a fantastic Friday and have a fantastic weekend.
Strap up. You come this way, you getting shredded. I'm a nightmare. Shred 'em, cut you like a surgeon. Leave them streets burning. Shred 'em, all my people grinding. Hustle on they mind and we earning. Many try to shut me down, but I'm a playmaker. Turn the lights off on a hater with a haymaker. To the house, yeah, we taking it to the house. If we talking 1v1, just let it rip, let's air 'em out. We in the zone. Even though the pressure's on, my team came to scrap, so it's a battle for the throne. It's a battle for the throne. My team came to scrap, so it's a battle for the throne. I'm really a factor, nothing like none of you actors. I turn up in the moment and had the fans going crazy after, yes. They screaming his name, Hex. Go hard in the pain, yes. This shit ice cold, but still it feel like straight flame, yes. This shit ice cold, but still it feel like straight flame, yes. Shred. Tatted soul, I was made for the grind. I don't fold, I go psycho with mine. Call the shots, I don't wait for the signs. Clock tick, I'm a beast on the climb.
Flip right double X check, 36 counter, naked waggle at 7X quarter. Red left switch, C right, sprint right, GU corner, half back flat. Scatter to triple right, up right toward jet X, stick C flat.
We in the zone, even though the pressure's on. My team came to scrap, so it's a battle for the throne. It's a battle for the throne. My team came to scrap, so it's a battle for the throne.
Got that bitch turning around, got that bitch flipping over. I get money, I get better. Gonna get it cash, I get thrown in the cash. On the front pass, and I'm thrown through the cash. I'm bitch gas, and all I saw these tabs on it. Bitch gas on the 6 girls on the cash on the bread. I'm a dog at the end. Spoiling the truth, and I'm living the game.
Shred. Tatted soul, I was made for the grind. I don't fold, I go psycho with mine. Call the shots, I don't wait for the signs. Clock tick, I'm a beast on the climb.